India is the land of villages, housing 80% of the people of our country. India has 7.5 lakh villages. Mahatma Gandhi said, India's lie in the villages. Villages have been an inspiration to many a poet and seer. Yet, this 80% of the population are struggling to find their means for their existence. Bali is one such village hamlet in Karnataka, consisting of only the scheduled castes, the deprived section of the people. The awakening dawn is disturbed by the women doing their daily routine of preparing their meals. The children tending the cattle and sheep of the landlord. Ramakka too gets ready the ragi balls for the family before she goes to the landlord's field for work. Ramakka's family is a happy family. They may have lots of trouble where money is concerned. Yet, there is hardly a quarrel in the family. Veerabhadrappa goes to work in the morning at a quarry 2 kilometers away, while Ramakka works for the landlord. Their daughter Siddhi, a 5-year-old, would be the second mother of the child Linga, the son of the family, the light of the future, the apple of their eye.
Siddhi loves to play with her brother Linga. She would carry him around, feed him, and put him to sleep, singing songs. That day, it was an unusually cold morning. The dew was trickling down the palms of the hut. To her surprise, Linga was passing loose motion. She cleaned the first time, a second time, but the motions went on. That day, the child was uncontrollable. He wept badly. She did not know what to do. The child would not eat. She hoped that if her mother comes and breastfeeds the child, then his hunger would be appeased. She waited for her mother, and the waiting was too long for her. As soon as Ramakka arrived, she was apprehensive because of the way Siddhi was looking forward to her coming. On reaching inside, she discovered her plight and the trouble her dear was going through. She immediately reached for the end of her sari and untied the only saving she had, 10 paise, and gave it to Siddhi to bring the powder for diarrhea. Siddhi went to the local man and brought the powder. Ramakka mixed the powder with milk and fed it to the child.
The condition of the child remained unchanged. She looked through the night, keeping the vigil. The child remained the same. Next morning, she called on the local Dai Yelama, the old woman of the place. When she narrated her story of the child, Yelama went round, pulled a few herbs, and said,
"Grind these herbs, pull out the juice and feed it to the child, and report to me in the evening."
Ramakka went dutifully and administered the medicine. She was already late for work that day, and the food was not ready yet. She advised Siddhi to take a special care of the child and informed her, if anything serious happens, please let me know, and left for work. In the evening, she came hurriedly anxious about the child, and yet hopeful that the situation would have changed. On arrival, she found the situation had not changed, and she rushed to the local Dai again, and she advised her to go to the temple.
Ramakka went to the local Gangama temple and cried out, "Here is your child, Gangama. Open your eye and take her sickness away. I will cut a cock and make puja for you. Please cure him of the malady." Ramakka wept at the goddess's feet. Next morning, the situation being unchanged, she mused about the wonder of modern medicine and asked her husband to borrow money and rush to Betamangala, 5 kilometers from the village, and bring the doctor Chidambara. The doctor arrived with the wonder medicine injection. He dutifully administered an injection, collected ₹7, and asked Virabhadrapa to come and collect the liquid.
Indeed, the medicine worked. The baby did not have loose motion for some time, and the child slept for a little while. Ramakka was relieved. Yet, her satisfaction was short-lived. The child again passed loose motion, and it was unabated. Now the sense of danger was felt by Ramakka. She had no other goal but to go to the KGF big hospital, 20 kilometers from her village. She did not have sufficient money nor the courage to go so far. She never visited the town. Yet she pleaded with her husband to get some money from the landlord to be paid back after the harvest. She got the money, and now she wished goodbye and went across the slippery, marshy paddy fields. She had to cross streams before she could arrive in Betamangala to catch a bus to KGF. On arrival at KGF, she had to look around for the hospital, requesting people here and there on the way. On arrival at the hospital, the signboard was prohibiting her to meet the doctor. She pleaded with the gatekeeper to let her in. The gatekeeper shouted, "Can't you see the board? Come tomorrow. This is not your home to come when and where you like."
"Sir," she pleaded, "my baby is very sick. I cannot wait for tomorrow. I have not informed my people at home. I am coming from a long distance. Please have some pity and allow me to see the doctor."
"No, madam. The rule for everyone is the same. You should have known about the timings of the hospital." She requested again and pleaded with him. He answered, "Okay, you better pay me ₹2 and I can let you in."
She entered and met the doctor after some time. The doctor was too tired to attend to the patient. Looking at the condition of the child, dehydrated so long, he shouted at her,
"Don't you know how to take care of the child? You people have many children, and yet you do not know how to take care of them. Why do you bring the child at the last moment?"
Then He furiously wrote out a long prescription. He requested IV fluids to be administered and other medicines for the baby to stop the diarrhea. She carried this prescription to the pharmacy and asked for the medicine. The pharmacist billed her ₹60. She had not that much of money. She had spent enough for the bus, at the gates, and at the counter. She could not buy all the medicine. She bought just a few tablets and went back, picked up the baby, and was on her way back home. She did not meet the doctor with IV fluids, as he had asked her to, because she feared another bout of scolding and another bill for administering the big injection. On her way back home, she discovered her baby to be limp. By the time she reached home, the baby's body was cold. She screamed on realizing that her baby was dead. The people from the village came running to hear what had happened, and sadness was writ large on the face of everyone. The darling of the village was no more. After the burial, the whole house for Ramakka was empty. There was no cry of the child while at cooking. For Siddhi, she no longer had her younger brother to cuddle and put to sleep. The nights were no longer troublesome, nor was it necessary to light the lamp at evening. The light of the house is extinguished. There is no longer joy pervading the house. Who can fill this vacuum?
On whom shall we place the responsibility of the child's death? On the parents for their ignorance, negligence?
How do you feel when poor villagers come to you in the last stage of their illness to seek your help?
This is a very common and frustrating problem for all doctors working in a major city hospital. The referral system from village health centers and smaller hospitals should be streamlined. Village health education programs, as carried out in Bangladesh, should be implemented to overcome this problem. Transportation and communication facilities, if improved, reduce this to a great extent.
Don't you know how to take care of the child? You people have many children and yet do not know how to take care of them. Why do you bring the child at the last moment? Ramakka knew that the child needed to be taken to the hospital. But what about the cost? Shall we blame the doctors?
Do you try to understand or study the culture of the people in order to be able to help them with their health problems?
Yes, I think not always consciously. Interaction with patients' culture and people's attitude is always there, not only with regard to drugs you may give them, but in the whole problem of health, as you said.
When the doctor spoke to Ramakka, Ramakka could hardly answer because for her, doctors are big people. They cannot be counted or counter-answered. They are all-knowing and omnipotent. Indeed, the doctor's culture and the culture of the villagers are very different.
Do you prescribe drugs in large quantities for long durations in order to be on the safe side, in order to ensure that everything will be all right or less of a bother because of your heavy workload?
By and large, no. Occasionally, patients are given a placebo if it's likely to help.
Are you pressurized to overprescribe by the patient's insecurity? If so, what do you do? How do you educate them? Do you yield to the pressure?
Occasionally, when you are really pressed for time, you give a placebo and ask the patient to come at a more convenient time, and most often, a good explanation is accepted. In my experience, such patients have other emotional problems which need to be looked into.
The baby could have been saved with the IV fluid administered, even at the last minute. But the long list of the doctor did the trick. Can we blame the hospital? Its setup, its distance, can we blame the drug industry? Its innumerable varieties of drugs, 30,000 formulations. Its profit motive. And the aggressive business approach. Now, let us listen to the medical representative for what he has to say.
What are your basic job functions?
Well, to start with, at the very beginning of the day, we plan our work in order to achieve our objective. Our objective is to get the maximum sales. We have to plan who the people are we are going to see during the day, who can fulfill our requirements or achievements for the day. Once we leave the house, we go on planning on our way. We think in what best way we can convince the doctor so that he prescribes the maximum of our company's products for which we are working, or for the product we are specifically working for. We may probably talk to him for about 5 or 6 products at a time, but our interest may be to get support at least for 2 or 3 products.
We do have a plethora of unessential drugs. We can think of tonics, but the unavailability of the essential drugs is the big question.
Many drugs are produced, especially unessential ones, because of high profit margins. So what happens when essential drugs are in short supply? The doctors may not be aware of this, as no representatives talk about it. What do you think about the situation?
I agree with you about this, and I feel this is a very serious situation. Professionals, public, and the government must view this matter with an urgency, and effective steps like a minimum quantum of essential drugs to be produced by a company should be fixed. Alternately, the government should take up their production and see that they are available in all the corners of this country at any given time.
On the plethora of drugs, say 30,000 formulations, how many do you consider are essential drugs which should be made available to the people?
Well, offhand, I don't think I can give you my own list, but we have well-known 160 drugs of Health Commission and 200 drugs of the WHO. I think that should be more or less cover essential drugs.
How about the doctor and the drug producer axis?
How often do you meet the doctors to promote your products?
Well, I think that's a very interesting question, because lots of companies are functioning in this country and their frequency and their products vary from doctor to doctor. Some companies may like to meet the doctors once in 2 months. Some may like to meet once a month. But the majority of the companies we have found like to meet important doctors once a month. Some in 45 days, and some maybe once in 2 months, depending upon their contribution.
In this doctor-drug-producer axis, the doctor gains by this process. He gets samples and many other gifts depending on his contribution to the drug industry. Given that there are many number of drug industries, we do have lot of them producing banned drugs and selling them in the market. What are its effects? We do have Health Commission report. What has come of it? We also have the banned drug list. Yet, the banned drugs are sold and prescribed. When drugs are sold, the side effects need to be mentioned. Unfortunately, not many companies do, especially if it is the third world country. Why this discrimination? Dr. Kulashekaran says,
the life of the child could have been saved if only the mother administered boiled water to the child with a pinch of salt and a scoop of sugar time and again.
Should we have allowed the child to die? For what purpose? For what purpose?